So we're gonna start recording now.
Here we are. Welcome
Oh
to
God.
the reunion and awards ceremony. What did Jacob say?
I said, watch
Eh,
me, Alex, and Mike as the Three Stooges coming up
correct.
November.
Correct. And everyone keep track of that. That'll be in your next quotes competition.
Write that down. Write that down.
Okay. As we said before, we have some awards to give out. And yes, we have a lovely little slideshow for us because Jacob has free time. No, but it looks great. I love you. All
You
right.
better say Jacob doesn't have a life.
All right, so we'll move right on into our first award, which is the hero of the season.
Oh my God. Ooh.
We now for longtime fans of Hypnotic, hero of the season is an interesting category. We tend to look at the player that wants the most good from people in these games, the person who strives to not necessarily play for other people, but play so that everyone who is part of the game is having a good time. Things like checking in on players when they're feeling down, or making sure that no game moves are taken with malice or anything like that. And we had a few good contenders, but at the end of the day, we have decided to give our Hero of the Season award to Liz.
Real.
Congratulations, Liz, for being Hero of the Season.
Liz is my hero for real.
That
Mike,
too,
I would die for you.
that too. Mike was giving so much love to Liz that we couldn't just not.
Real. Liz, I don't know if you heard me, but I will continue to read your stories. I don't care.
This
Thank
whole thing
you.
was actually a
They're so
sponsorship
good.
for Liz's Liz's
Yeah. Literally, I'm like, plug the link.
I will cry.
I've been reading Jury House.
Yeah.
It was literally such a fun meme to run along with, though. I
They're
will.
so good.
Well, speaking of so good, next up on the award ceremony, we have the contrast. You have your hero. There's got to be a diabolical villain who is using underhanded tactics, who is lying, manipulating, backstabbing, betraying, all of those good things. Like all the things that like the people, like the casuals that watch, is like, I don't want them to win. The fuck? Why are they still there? You know?
Straight.
This person was a foil to a lot of players in the game, and in the occasional live DR, their little tea sessions, they asked, am I the problem? Am I the drama? Am I the moment? And indeed, they were the drama, the problem, and the moment. So villain of the season, because the last couple of years we've had heroic winners, but finally taking it home for the villains, Morgan. Congratulations on being the villain of the season.
I'm surprised. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like this was a gag. I
Morgan.
thought I was a nice girl.
Let's
thought
say
Logan
some
was
of
gonna be the
these have
villain.
honorable mentions, and a lot of you
That's
had
hilarious.
villainous qualities.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I honestly, I thought,
Logan was actually here.
I thought it'd be very funny that if after Liz got hero, we gave Mike villain. Like I thought that would be. I was like, nah, that's Morgan.
the sheer theatrics.
I didn't even do anything heroic, never mind villainous. I just existed.
I think I was.
You
more
gave us
just
iconic
villain,
sound bites.
probably.
That's my villain arc.
So do we move on to the next category, or
I think we
Please.
do, and this one's mine, so I'm gonna take a quick swig for it.
we'll take? Oh well, shit, we'll move back.
Because the next thing is it's going to be physical player of the season, which I don't think anybody knows at all, like, who is going to win this award whatsoever. But I did want to present this award because of a few reasons. So first, let's just say physical player is Mike. That's very obvious here. That's going to be something that everybody knows. But I really wanted to present it because I do want to say, Mike, I am so glad that we cast you this season because that's been something that we wanted to do, and I feel like we gave you such a good cast, not only for, like, yes, maybe like social strategic wasn't all there, but like it was just such a delight hosting you, and I had a lot of fun, and I loved watching you play, and as also a self-proclaimed comp beast, even though I always lie about that, but it's okay. I think I'm pretty decent. I
Real.
wanted to also present this, but I'm really glad we hosted you this season, and I think we put you with a really this was the best time to host you, and I'm really happy that you have applied every season up until now because I think this was the perfect moment to bring you.
I know. What's how's season 4 gonna go without my app in the pool? I wonder.
Well, it'll be tough.
Ugh, Mom, get the camera.
Speaking of camera, I love having screen time. So next up, I'm going to be presenting the strategic player. This is a very active cast, a lot of very game savvy, very strategic people. A lot of people frequently doing DRs. You know, I hosted them, Alex hosted them, Heather. We all had a great idea of what people were thinking at every point in the game. So this was not as cut and dry as the physical player was, but we decided to give it to this player, give them some flowers, because I think that in spite of the position they constantly found themselves in come eviction night, I think this person played the best with the hand that they were dealt with, and I think they were very thorough in all of their conversations. I think was very intelligent, very articulate, and so strategic player of the season, wherever the hell you are, Cody. You played very well, and we were very impressed with you. That in spite of all the adversity that you had to face with constantly being put up on the block, you constantly were advertising yourself as a benefit to other people's games. I think you had a very good lay of the land, considering like where the dynamics were, what the relationships were. You were fostering relationships aside from your core, primarily. I do want to highlight Cody's relationship with Morgan, and like this trying to hide this, like no one would see it coming after week 1. You know, Morgan did a lot of work to foster that relationship as well, but I felt like that was an area to which Cody clearly, in spite of being on the block so much, still had some social capital through his strategic maneuvering, alliance making.
Shout out to our alliance. Yes, and love that alliance before Ariana made it popular.
All right, Alex, would you like to present the next award?
I would. We've gone through the physical player. We've gone through the strategic player. There is only one real pillar left, and that is the social player. So I will say, a lot of y'all did a really good job as far as keeping up your social bonds. But there was one player in particular that I personally wasn't really sure exactly how they would play. But then as the season went on for the first couple of weeks, I thought to myself, wait, is anybody targeting this player? I don't think they are. And I realized that this player was onto something when there was an entire competition based on trust rankings, and they won easily, which is why social player of the season goes to Juan. And as an added bonus, because I love thinking of this in numbers, we do have power rankings, which for those who don't know, each week we rank the players 1 to 16 based on how many players are in the cast, based on how powerful we thought they were in the house. I'm pretty sure Juan broke the record for weeks at number 1.
Oh, period.
Just because of how strong your social game was. So congratulations, you are our social player of the season.
Thank you. I did not want to win the HOH because I was like, damn, as soon as y'all
I know you didn't.
I'm like, I'm winning this shit. I don't want it. Thank you.
You're welcome. The next categories were very much contested by Prod. Oh boy, we'll get to one of those awards in a moment, but before we get to that one, I'm presenting best move. Now there's a couple ones that a couple people on the receiving end's question at the time. I want to give a couple honorable mentions before we give the best move. 3 honorable mentions actually. One was Harley flipping to voting Wesley during the live night. That drastically changed the trajectory of the game, where if she does not do that and let's go with Benji, this game obviously plays out very differently. And obviously in this scenario, I mean, Harley made it to Final 3. I don't think that happens if she sides with that Chris, Cody, Liz, like that kind of contingent of things. So I feel like that was the more beneficial move for her game. Also, I know a lot of people talked about Morgan, like this lie about the disconnected controller and all the chaos that ensued as a result of that. That was in contention. Obviously, discussed in the roundtable, and someone threatened to cause a riot if that didn't get best move. So I guess the riot will ensue. And the last honorable mention, and I know somebody wanted to be quote unquote, their quote, not mine, a petty bitch on their way out about this move. But Liz nominating Joanne and Juan, I felt like was absolutely the most optimal move for her. I think aside from Mike potentially winning HOH, she was always going to be a target, and I feel like targeting Juan in that position was the correct read. But that's not what was always going to happen, because there was this perception of Morgan, Benji, and Joanne being a trio, and Juan not particularly being a part of that. And if only someone got on call with Liz and threw a couple of people under the bus to ensure that the noms changed from a combination of Benji, Morgan, and Joanne to for sure Joanne and Juan, with a renom likely of Harley. So best move of the season was Morgan throwing under the bus. I don't know what the fuck vehicle Morgan threw them under, but damn sure they did. I fought very hard for this move specifically because obviously in this scenario where if a combination of Benji or Morgan go up on the block, the trifecta, which consisted of Juan, Joanne, and Harley, would have controlled the votes, and there would have been a solid trio going into Final Six. And that's never good for anybody on the receiving end of that trio. If you're not in it, then you're very much going to be in trouble. And obviously that was the point where I felt like if Morgan and Benji can get over this hurdle, there's a very likely chance that they make it to Final Two. I feel like this was the most pivotal moment in the game where a lot of people did not want to see Liz win HOH, and people like, worst case scenario, Liz wins. And Morgan, even in spite of that, was able to use the last round and Juan putting them up and like suggesting, oh, Liz was going to be the renom against Juan, and portrayed the last couple rounds in a way to where Morgan was more overt, Morgan was more trustworthy, in spite of Morgan voting Liz out week 3, which I felt was very impressive on their end. And I put a lot of credit to Morgan specifically because I feel like she was the one most benefited by Juan going that round specifically. Like, I can make arguments to why Joanne going would have benefited Mike or Harley, even Benji or Liz, but Morgan was the one who clearly benefited the most from Juan going that round. So Morgan putting all that work, I felt was very impressive. So best move.
That was like Juan, when I was not joking, like you had to go. If you did not go there, I pack my bags.
You were on my like
winning.
Since week 1, I was after your ass.
When you nominated me at Final 8, even though I was trying so hard to emotionally manipulate you again, I was like, oh, Juan's catching up to the gig. Juan's gotta go.
It worked on me though, because Juan was like, no, Joanne, like we have to get Morgan out. And I was like, but I just talked to Morgan and like
I was like, I don't care.
Trust her.
I was lying
So
through my
many
teeth. I was
people
like, I never
trusted
said that to
Morgan.
Cody. I never.
I was like,
many
Joanne,
people
Fun to be
trusted
stuck in the middle of all that.
Morgan.
Real fun week for
I will say, so many people would trust Morgan, and I would look at Morgan's power, or not power rankings, trust rankings, and the people who trusted Morgan were at like the bottom of the list.
Listen, like I love you, Liz. Like even if you hate me or whatever, like you were just such a good player, and I had to throw them under the bus too, and then cut you right after. Like you were the only obstacle in my way after Juan, so it had to be done.
But you know what else has to be done? We have to go over worst move.
Oh,
Okay.
Alex,
yeah.
Heather, who starts?
Well, I'll just preface this by saying, y'all gave us a lot of material to work with as far as this category goes. It literally got to the point we had a solid 5 things in contention, and
Oh my
we were arguing about, oh, we will get honorable mentions. Don't you worry.
All of us disagreed on what the worst move was. So you're going to get a lot of worst moves today, and then an overall one.
My worst move ended up being what we all agreed on somehow. I forget. So Jacob and Heather, why don't you share your picks for worst move?
Heather, I think you go first. Right?
I go first because I think yours leads into mine.
You go first. I say you go first because I think.
Okay, so this has to do with the power that Cody had in the game, which was a vote swap, so he would be able to change someone's vote. It ended up being used on Morgan that round. So Morgan ended up actually voting to save Chris in a way.
Yeah.
So that happened. However, when Cody told Juan about the vote swap, I was like, this is a perfect time for Juan to keep playing the middle, and this is a perfect time for, like, I think had Juan taken the bait and not told anyone else about the vote swap and kept Chris, who in Juan's prod chat would always say, I really want to work with Chris. I need to get rid of Cody so that I can get Chris on my side. Did not really want to get Chris out that round, like for half the round, but like was very flip-floppy. I personally think that like Juan ending up voting Chris out to make it a tie vote, I feel like you would have gotten a lot further had you kept Chris, because then if Cody still left, you still may have gotten Chris on your side. I don't think Liz would have turned on you as hard as she did at the time. I think a lot of things would have changed. I think Morgan and Benji would have left earlier, or at least one of them would have left earlier. And I think that you would have been able to have like a lot more on your side at that point, because you would have gained more trust in certain way. I think there's like a lot of things that were like in contention for that. I do think there's certain things that did happen that time. And I think if you had kept it a secret, even from Joanne, you could have hid behind it and blamed someone else, so you would have still been in good with the other side as well. That's why I think that that's the worst move.
I know Chris is raising his hand, so I don't know if
I was going to say, also Juan was telling me during the roundtable that there was a possibility he was going to cause it to be a tie. So somehow if we didn't tell him, I might have survived somehow, which is nonsense.
Well,
Well, thank you, Chris. That's what I thought the worst rule. Because here's the thing: none of that happens. Juan doesn't vote for Chris in that scenario because Juan was already planning on making this a tied vote. So when Cody told Juan about the vote swap, he gave all the power of what the hell happens that round to Juan. Juan could have done anything that Juan wanted to do at that point. Juan could have went to Morgan, told him about the vote swap for it, instructed her to vote for Mike so that in turn Cody's vote swap makes Morgan vote for Chris still. Juan could have done what they did in the actual scenario where they like reveal this to Joanne and Harley specifically. They create the tie to ensure that Chris goes on Joanne's HOH. And I feel like if Cody just keeps that secret, that one trump card, Juan votes to make it a tie, votes for Mike, and Cody would have been able to save Chris through this ploy. But the second that Cody told Juan about this as well, which I felt like should have just been a secret between him, Chris, and Liz, as like this one advantage that they had, especially after being blindsided on live night. Like I felt like this was like the one thing that they had over the majority, and Cody just handed it to Juan. So while I don't agree with Juan voting Chris to being the correct decision, I feel like there were still pros and cons. Whereas it wouldn't have even been the case had I felt if Cody just did not say anything about it. Like that's
Can I defend me and Cody?
Yes, feel
our
free.
logic. The logic being was we needed at least one more vote with Liz and Cody for me to stay. And we were afraid that we had pretty good certainty after we blew up Band Geeks that we didn't have Harley's vote. So we absolutely needed one more vote. And we felt as though if nothing changed and Juan knew that the vote was going to be a tie at a minimum, in which case I definitely go, that he was just going to vote me out to stay with the majority. We thought that that was the only way to actually make him feel like, oh, there's the potential to have Chris stay. I can actually vote to save him, versus if Harley flips, his vote largely doesn't matter anymore.
No, as soon as Cody told me, I was texting Joanne.
Juan wanted to be a tie.
I'm not denying it's a bad move. I'm just saying, like, it was in that moment where we thought you were a swing vote, we thought telling you was the only way we could actually make you potentially want to vote to keep me.
Oh yeah,
Well-
that's why that
And
is
just so you
definitely-
know, wait, I just want to say, just so you know, had Juan said that and then said, oh, by the way, you know, Chris is staying, like Chris is going to end up staying because of XYZ and XYZ, then my vote could have possibly changed because my vote wasn't my vote wasn't set in stone. But I also felt like I needed to go with what I thought would be the majority. So had something else would have arrived and went a different way, then my vote could have went a different way.
Honestly, I'm excited to see what wins because that also changed Cody with me.
Let's get into what wins. So,
well, 1 second before you do, because we have one more honorable mention that I do.
I was going to go into that.
You were gonna go into that because I thought you were gonna just say your top pick, which ended up being just.
We had 5 things that we were considering. We already named the 2. We were briefly considering Chris using his safety without power rather early, but that was it wasn't a lot of footing on there. I think the jury seemed very against Mike not nominating Benji and Morgan together at the final 5, but we could see the logic there as well. I know, even though Harley might disagree.
I might need to win it regardless. Like whoever got
But let's get into the worst move of the season.
Curse my goddamn loyalty.
The most significant round of this entire season, I think.
I would have won Final Four veto. Just to throw that out there.
I think the most significant round of the season, without a doubt, was the first live night. That is when the entire game shifted, and I will be fully honest. As the round was progressing, I thought things were going to go one way, and they eventually went another way. And I think the game could have been very different for this person and the people they were aligned with if the worst move of the season wasn't done, which was Cody nominating Wesley instead of Joanne or Morgan. I was in the room.
I was gagged.
I was in the room with Cody when they were debating who to put up. It was going to be Wesley, Joanne, or Morgan. More like Wesley and Joanne. And Wesley was put up because thought that Wesley would have stayed, but not really realizing Wesley, I believe at that point that you would have voted Benji out, which would have given the votes in the favor, and Joanne was not voting Benji out at that point, and ended up being a 4-3. Benji stayed, and the game changed from there.
I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
I could not believe that. When he said he was nominating Wesley, I was like,
I said, Cody, you're dumb.
I was like, what are you kidding? Like, you literally said you were gonna nominate Joanne, first of all, and then you're just not going to? Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna take it
this round if it wasn't a live night.
I'm gonna take it a step. I'm gonna take it a step forward before even the Wesley Morgan. Yeah, that's facts. Cody should not put Juan up to begin with.
Well,
I do think that putting up Juan was a good move had Juan not been won the veto, just because Juan was in such a power position, with all of the house. It wasn't just one.
Right. No. And I don't mean to cut you off, Heather. Not to say it like that, because I do believe it was a good move to have. But also if he was still trying to have the trust, because that's when Cody started losing Juan after he went back on the block again, because it was like, why did you put me back on the block? I understand, where I'm at, but also I feel like you still probably shouldn't have done that, if that makes sense.
I can agree and partially disagree with that, and I don't know if Juan wanted to chime in, but Juan was always I want to get rid of Cody at some point so that I can get closer to Chris, and so it was going to happen. Just not at that time.
I don't think. That position. I don't think was the right time to do it. That's what I would say.
Wesley was not getting rid of Cody, so
it was also that we were highly considering more. Morgan and Benji would have been the obvious option had not the stay or fold went that way, and we started to think, oh, maybe Morgan isn't as close to Benji as we thought, which is how the entire disconnected controller nonsense began.
Well, there
There's
we
a
go.
lot of elements that led to this stupidity.
I
That's all
put
I'm
in a lot
saying.
of work I had to manipulate. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
And I do
I
want
mean,
to
we
say
can go to the
because it was
next one.
mentioned.
Yeah.
I do want to say because it was mentioned in the chat. Yes, Cody getting strategic player and also worst move. It's because like all the strategy was there, and like it was more like the hand that was dealt. It wasn't like because there was the strategic mind and probably like one of the like most strategic people in this game, but people were I wanted to give an obsession award, and I'll say it now. Everyone was obsessed with Cody for
Sorry, Cody.
partially some reason, but also no reason at all. So like with all that like happened that way, it was like
I mean, I intentionally chose to align with Cody because I realized he would be a big threat in front of me, but that didn't work out.
I also don't know how the game would have gone, like if it was still me and Joanne on the block. Me personally, I think Joanne would have left, and I just would have been a dead fish in the water after that point. So
it would have completely broken up our alliance for sure, because I would have kept Joanne and Benji probably wouldn't have, and everybody else would have just devoured us.
Those like 48 hours were the most important moments of the entire season.
There's a lot of elements to talk about this move, but we got more awards to give out, so let's move right along.
I think I have the next one, which is most clutch win. So there's some people who won competitions that were like really essential to their game, otherwise they likely could have left or would have gone out. We have 2 honorable mentions for this. One of them being Benji winning the week 6 veto. We feel that like Benji does have a really high chance of going home. I don't think it's necessarily set in stone, but I do feel like that was one that really came into play and really progress the season, because like if that veto was not won, the whole season likely does change. And like power to Benji being like it was a fairly good comp beast this season and getting not only that clutch win, but I do feel like a few other really clutch ones. Another honorable mention is Joanne winning the week 8 HOH. It really like I think, and not saying that you were in a bad position that round, but with Morgan kind of like not like having you at the top of the list, and then like also people already like targeting you and things like that, that could have been a week that you did go home. But I think like you winning and you showing like a certain side definitely kind of like progressed your game further. But the winner for most clutch win, even though it this was talked about with Prod, because it was whether it delayed an inevitable or was just a really clutch win in that situation. So most clutch win goes to Liz winning the week 10 HOH. So Liz was likely a goner. Like when I said like delaying the inevitable, when a lot of people were saying to Liz, or Juan was saying to Liz, you're likely going to go home after me if I go home this round, which Prod already saw that as going to be the situation no matter who Liz put up. Liz was probably going to go home that week had Liz not won that. So I feel like that Liz did that, and there was really no bad move for Liz that round. I feel the only bad move that Liz could have made was putting Mike up, because had Mike won the next HOH, I feel like that would be the only way that Liz would not survive the week without winning any competitions.
Liz still wasn't going up on my HOH.
Yeah, exactly.
I could never do this entire cast this entire cast this season that big of a disservice.
But Mike, if you
it's also that you were like the only allies to each other left.
Literally. Well, yeah,
Mike,
but it's for the bit too.
Mike, if you had won this HOH, it probably also would have been a clutch win. Liz was the one that came out on top and actually got.
Oh my god! I'll never forget.
Speaking of my HOHs, I do think I wanted to. It wasn't touched upon, but I feel like my final 5 HOH was a clutch one too.
That is
my time was coming eventually.
That is true as well. For this, I do remember. I can't remember who said it exactly, but someone said in their prod chat, being like, how can 4 people not beat 2 people? Meaning, how can everybody not beat Mike or Liz at that competition?
I think that was me. I think that was me.
I
Yeah,
think it
it might
was
have been.
you. But yeah, and so that was, I think, the most clutch win of the season.
Wait,
True. That's
Yes.
before I forget, Prod, is there any way I could get a recording of that comp? Because I said some of the stupidest possible things, and I want to show Derek just the madness that was happening on that side.
It's
It's
somewhere
on
the
the
YouTube.
YouTube. It's
Chicken
just
Listen,
private
it's
right
fine.
now, but I can definitely send it to you because we told Derek it would
Message
not
us when we're
be.
done.
We told
That
Derek it would
competition.
be
public.
posted
Oh my
for one of the
God.
answers.
Good.
All right, moving right along into our next award. This is a very memey season. Season, I will say, and even though we had one person, there is like 10 memes that we get, and even though honestly we could have just given this award to one person in particular, and you'll never guess who that one person is, Mike. Mike. There was one meme that caught on, and it is because of one simple thing, and that one simple thing was someone answering a poll when they weren't supposed to, and then the meme just stuck on, which is why meme of the season is Liz being at the veto.
Guys, I'm sorry, I
You
can't
know
make
how
a
high
video
Christmas
this
tree
time.
was?
So good. So the Christmas tree was good, but
Literally.
once you left, it kind of left. The Liz thing stuck on even after Liz was gone.
It
the real
did.
reason
It
why
did.
Chris was
It
evicted
kept,
that
it
week.
kept
Like,
going.
he took the Christmas
I
tree
love
down.
that.
He had to follow suit. That was the big blunder there.
The amount of times Mike would literally say, "How are we going to do this competition without Liz here? How are we going to do it?"
I could,
It lasted
yes.
even after Liz was
Yes.
gone. It
Right,
was like-
Exactly. Like
I love that.
we can't have this Final Four veto because Liz isn't here.
Literally, literally.
I
Makes
had
me
to
so
change my
unbelievably
name.
happy.
I had to change my name to Liz on the nomination ceremony so we could get it started because Mike wouldn't have done it.
Yes. No, that's dead ass. That's dead ass facts. Jacob was Liz for the time being for the HOA. Yes, he was.
Literally.
All right.
Identity theft is not a joke, Jacob. Millions of people are abused with that every year.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Anyways,
also,
we
Cody,
move on.
just an update. You got strategic player, but also got worst move. So.
So no
Okay.
stars, but keeping him in the loop.
I'll gladly take worst move. I do not deserve strategic player.
We'll talk about that.
Opposite of what most people say. I'll accept the
Who
bad.
deserves it, Cody?
We'll talk about that later. Moving
But
right
what?
along. Moving right along.
Do I have this? I
Heather,
do
yeah,
have
this one.
this. Okay, so there is best rivalry, and we actually do have a few honorable mentions for this. So this season there were a lot of like different kind of things. Like there was people liking each other, but there was people who just could not work together or could not necessarily get along, because that seems a little bit more personal. Like this all did seem very game. And so we do have 2 honorable mentions, which I think we have slides for, and I don't want to say them in the wrong order. So do we want to go to the first honorable mention? The first honorable mention is Liz and Joanne, because they just never understood each other's, like, how each other would play the game. And, like, granted, both of them played very well, and both of them had, like, different ways of playing. It just did not mesh with each other. And so that is very fair, but it didn't, like, start, I feel, until later in the game when that stuff happened and things started drifting, with Joanne aside, which granted it's because it was very side based at that point, it kind of separated that. The next honorable mention, which I think was just mentioned, is Harley and Jacob, because of how much they would fight on every single call that would be had. I felt like it was it would have been a crime to not mention this at some point.
I've never had more fun shitting on a contestant ever in my life.
And I've never had more fun going at it with a
Carly,
Prod.
gather him.
take that
Gather him.
We would give it
you.
back to each other. So I don't think it could have been anybody else other than Jacob, because he would have been the one. I don't think
I don't
would
take offense to it. I accept it. Like,
right, and I didn't either. So that's why it worked, because neither one of us took offense to it.
I'm just waiting for the Yankees hat to come out.
Oh.
And then the actual rivalry of the season. This happened in a very weird way, and I may be very wrong with how this fully started, but it kind of started with someone accidentally sending the same message twice, or like the same thing twice in a day, being like, so how do you feel about the game? Said it twice in like, I think it was
Like once in the morning, once in the evening.
Less than a 12-hour difference, and it kind of caused like a bit of a rivalry. Like they knew they could not work together, and kind of just stopped really like talking a lot. So we kind of said that the best rivalry was Chris and Benji. So Chris was the one who sent the same message twice. And then that led to, it was so weird, because I think both of them were at that point were like, yeah, like I want to vibe with it, but it's just like there's nothing happening. And it was because Chris sent that message twice.
No,
in
truly, I
one
was like,
day.
bruh, you just sent this, what the fuck?
And then that kind of led to just a downward spiral for those two. There was no way you guys were ever going to work together after that for some reason.
I meant what
Like,
I said, I was open.
yeah, and so with that, we really wanted to see just the rivalry.
I was hoping that this was gonna be considered, because it was like a rivalry, but it was like never like directed against each other.
No,
It looks like you're about
literally,
to
it was
punch
just
Benji in
like-
the face here. So like, really, was it not?
And I needed
No,
y'all
honestly, we were just like, it's there.
so bad. I need
Love you, Benji. Love you.
It was
I
so
didn't
funny
think
hearing
anything
Benji
of it. It was that's the most interesting rivalry. I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, okay. After that, like, didn't matter.
There were like 5 weeks in a row. I'm like, I really want Benji out, but there's someone else who's much more dangerous right now. I think I said that like 5 rounds in a row.
Try that every
No
round
less
after
than
round
5.
2.
the way Chris is always like, I want to get Benji out. I'm like, but Morgan. Like,
That
I
happened
was always saying Benji's name.
It
Said
was
it
a lot.
constantly. Every week I was throwing Benji's name out.
It was a lot with that. And
I will say that. Oh, sorry, just really quickly.
No,
I
you
will
can-
say over the last couple of games, I've been picking up worthy adversaries, so I'm glad to add you to that collection.
it was more of a funny kind of rivalry because of how it started, it feels. But yeah, and then every best rivalry, let's segue into best duo.
Best duo. This is my award, because I actually pitched a couple final twos on this cast. Said was it going to the end bestie? None of them felt. But some of y'all were actually loyal to one another, so that's pretty cute. We have 2 honorable mentions here. First off, we got to give an honorable mention to the Divine Beasts, which was Chris and Cody. They didn't go to college together, unlike a certain other duo.
Somebody we know, right?
But like,
I don't know what you're talking about.
At pre-season cast assessment,
And
this and the
Boots
next honorable mention, I was like,
that?
these two need to work together. These two are gonna link up.
We
I
called
felt that they
this
both
so early.
saw the game in very
Beautiful.
similar lights. I think they complement each other very well. So when they linked up, I wasn't in the chat until like maybe like a week or two before Chris got evicted, because someone thought I didn't want to be in one-on-ones, which don't know where the hell that came from. But I just had an idea. It's kind of like a vibe, that they were working together. And then the next one, maybe could have been best duo if they had like a name. It was just their names. I think it was only until Juan got evicted that they named themselves Bronx's Bitches. But it was just Juan for most of it. I would go on there late, night calls, and just we would be kikiing and whatnot. I also said I felt like they needed to link up coming into the preseason. This is a little bit weirder because like obviously Joanne's never played a game before. It was just like a vibe thing, and clearly it showed how well they were able to work symbiotically and try to navigate the middle. But best duo, I mean, come on. It's got to be Benji and Morganta, obviously. They were two people who I thought coming into this game, I was really excited to see working together. I think they complement each other very well. I think Morgan can be the strategist. I think Morgan could kind of like is not scared to shy away from using those underhanded tactics that I was talking about earlier on. And Benji was going to be the social butterfly, someone who's going to be very charming, someone who's going to be very much endeared to the cast. And they complemented each other very well and in ways that I didn't even expect them to do. Like Benji goes on this comp run at the end that very much helps get Benji and Morganta, I guess that's the name here, all the way to the end, which I mean, every end game in Hypnotic has had thus far, and I wasn't expecting Benji to emerge as such. So honorable mention, obviously, him for physical player when we had that award. But Benji and Morgan had so much to overcome with initially being at the bottom, you know, working with the Sergios, the Erics, and the Logans, and seeing them recover and be able to assume this position where there were all these other big targets that at the early, like half of, well, the pre-jury and then the early half of the jury were very clearly playing very strong games, were very much out in front as these overtly front runners to win jury votes. You know, there was Chris emerging as the person who was voted for most likely to win. There was Juan, there was Joanne, there was Liz, and Benji and Morgan were able to slide under the radar as a result, when this was like the first duo that was clocked by most people
Literally.
of the game. Like, oh, Benji and Morgan are obviously close. And they worked hard to try to distance themselves, and it worked out to the point where even at Final Five, we talked about this, but they weren't even nominated together. So
I was gagged.
First Final Two that we get duo of the season. So
oops.
Like Benji, I cannot express how much I love and care for you. Obviously, we're on basically a pro team together. We are on a podcast together. I have a snap streak with you of like multiple, like we are so close, and this just made us so much closer. Like I can't thank you enough for taking me to the end, even if it lost you the game. Like you are my everything. You are the dad of our little simulators chat. You are the angel to my devil. Like I love and adore you so much. And I'm drunk as fuck right now, but whatever.
I'll cheers to that as we get into our next
I
thing.
love you too, girl.
All right. So the next one, I want to try and speed through those because I know it's been a little bit and we have a lot more to get through because everyone's going to get like a little thing quickly, but we won't fully explain every single one of them. This one is Best Alliance. There were a few alliances that we also had honorable mentions for this. So we had a few that we were thinking about, and there's only one that was like fully loyal to each other from like the beginning, but we'll get to that. So the first honorable mention is actually going to be Superfruit.
Gay
the only
people,
reason this
where are
didn't
you
win
at?
the only reason this didn't win is because of the different levels of loyalty that was kind of towards the group. Like there was a likely situation that there could have been people turning like earlier rather than later, and so that's why this one wouldn't have won necessarily. But it was a really fun one to look into. Then there's also just one that kind of emerged later in the game. It's the trifecta. It emerged later in the game, and had they all made it past the round that Juan did leave, this could have ran towards the end of the game. That's why this is an honorable mention. There's a lot of other ones like Pop, Drop, and Lock. I know you guys changed your name like
Pop,
5
Lock, and
times.
Drop
That
It.
It was
one-
Sack, but then it was Pop, Lock, and Drop It.
Sack, Pop, Lock, and Drop. There was the Revolution, but that one wasn't a good one. And we actually had a Revolution.
Goodbye. Oh
We
my
actually
God.
had a Revolution last season that also flopped. So it's weird that it happened twice, kind of situation. But the
If I
best
had an
alliance,
echo.
the best
Logan, this
alliance
was for you,
that
bitch.
we feel like if they had made it further would not have turned on each other like whatsoever has to be the Snow Starters. So that was Chris, Cody, and Liz. It was so fun watching their chat like as things were happening. Like they were helping like Chris find the friend request power.
So basically, I was their Bidoof. Got it.
Oh yeah, basically, like it was.
No, Mike, you were more than Bidoof. You were fucking Starly.
Okay. The bird that
you were
gets
the
dropped from
traitor,
the team
clearly,
halfway
like, we're
through.
just
Yeah, and they even chose their own like starter, like which starter they would be. So it was really fun, like listening in their calls, like watching the chat. And there will be stuff that happens later that does also. I'll give a slight spoiler. Praises Liz in this chat as well. But we'll get to that later because it's it's like the individual stuff that happens. But this one was like I don't see them turning on each other like even later in the game.
Only person in
They
the game
literally
who knew
didn't.
me and Liz had a prior relationship.
Oh, and what was really funny was
Really?
during the Listmaster competition, each one of them had a different person for the top of their list. I can't remember exactly which way it was, but it was the combination of the three of them, and each of them had a different one, and I thought that was so funny.
So cute.
The three of us just pointing in the chat at each other like the Spider-Man picture.
It's
I think it was me pointing at Chris pointing at Liz, and Liz pointing at me, but I could be wrong.
No, I chose you, Cody.
Oh, I don't
put you
remember.
at one and Liz at two.
Was I pointing at Chris?
Yeah.
I'm sure. Okay, yeah, this makes sense now.
Oh my gosh.
It's amazing.
And right along, while we have the best alliance, no alliance is complete without a good alliance name. And yeah, we guess it go a super fruit. Like, okay, it's a little, yeah, that's
Oh, you
nice.
hate gay people. Okay. Noted.
And
That's not too much on Alex Bobby Brown.
Trifecta, yeah, okay, kind of basic Sinnoh starters. You're all a bunch of nerds. But there was one really humorous event that happened where a player was evicted, and on their during their eviction speech, a few people were called out, and I would say it was about like half right. It wasn't like entirely wrong, but a couple of it's something like that. And of the people that got called out, they ended up talking to each other and said, hey, because we got called out, should we make an alliance? Which is why the best alliance name goes to Logan's Self-Fulfilling Prophecy.
Yeah,
you get this award
yes,
too.
that was perfect. Yes,
It did not exist until after Logan got
I think this was one of the situations where it happened, and then in my head I was like, oh, that'd be really funny if it actually happened. And then it did, and I was like, oh, that's so good.
Leslie immediately went to his prod chat and was like, I kind of want to make this alliance just for like the fucks of it.
Yes, Mike. Did you have a question or?
Oh,
Do you have a comment?
frozen.
Oh, Mike is frozen.
Mike is
This is
frozen.
why
Yeah. Once Mike gets back, maybe we can.
Yeah, Mike looks like Morgan right now.
I think my favorite thing is immediately after making this, me and Chris ran to Liz and just said, "You won't believe what's happening."
That describes like 90% of our game, Cody.
Yeah, pretty much.
Speaking of alliance names, I wanted to give a little quick shout out. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
We also had debrief time where
Yes!
after every eviction we changed the name. This continued on until I was the last one in it.
Debrief time, then it was Christmas tree, and then it was I can't remember the middle one
It was
after
Code
Cody.
Christmas tree, then
It was
Code
Code
Red,
And then Statue of Lisberty.
and then Statue of Lisberty.
I think it was just too confusing to keep up with, but it was a good bit. It was a good bit. Again,
There were
Statue of Lisberty
yeah,
is
but
everything.
but my dumb little brain can't handle that. And with that, we'll move on to our next award, which is the Robbed Preacher, the player that was evicted in the before the jury phase started, that we feel just got their time cut short. So
Adrian
going too soon.
for this person, for
Who
this
said
person,
Adrian? Absolutely not.
Rod in.
for this person, we were
Morgan,
watching
you're
their
absolutely
game.
right in.
we were watching their game, not really sure like what exactly was going on. But then a situation arose where suddenly a lot of people were coming to this person asking for things, and and at that point we realized, oh wow, this person's like in a really powerful position. I think they could go far. And then they were immediately sniped out the next week. It was so disappointing.
And
Which is why I
over
robbed
Cody,
pre-
like every single other one.
Which is why our robbed pre-juror goes to Becky.
I knew it was Becky. I knew it was Becky.
Every
I
night
did.
Becky was like, "Fuck y'all, I'm
Worst
getting
part is
drunk."
no one even wanted to vote out.
Yeah, Becky was like, "I'm getting
Everyone
drunk."
just wanted to keep Cody.
Becky,
dead
I'm giving
ass.
Becky tease right now. Like, girl.
So sad.
Yo, I
So sad.
remember when we thought Becky won fucking categories, and I'm over here in a fucking restaurant minding my damn
We
business.
don't need to
She's
talk
over here
about
drunk
that.
as fuck.
Literally, I'm messaging Becky like,
Yeah, we
girl,
don't talk about
girl.
categories, okay? Because I didn't make it to there, so my veto chip was still hidden. So
I
we
was
don't talk
talking-
about
Also,
categories.
I was
Yes.
I'll
crying
also
because
blame
she
that
could
on
have been
the
lost on fucking
boys,
Gilligan.
because I didn't double check it.
Blame it on the boys. Yeah, that was our fault. Well,
Can we talk about where is my
No,
veto chip?
this woman could have been lost on Gilligan's Island, like nowhere to be found with veto in hand, and I kind of live for it.
That's a mother. That's a mother.
That's my
All I'm
Yes.
gonna say, y'all did her dirty voting her out. You're monsters.
Exactly.
There
which
were
is
no
why
the
she's
votes
here.
just weren't there. The votes just weren't there.
Every single one just not there.
Oh no, they tried.
Every single one.
Becky isn't
Every
here.
single
You know,
Honestly, that Morgan, that was the entire meme of yes and.
Literally, the votes aren't there. Sorry.
well, since Morgan, not Morgan. Wow, Morgan was just speaking, and my brain just went there. Becky's not here. Let's get on to the next one. Which is for Jacob.
Yeah, word. Rob Juror. This player, you know, we have like a little asterisks over here because it wasn't always going to be the Rob Juror award. It was going to be the Obsessed award. Because for some bizarre reason, just this person may have been like the main character if this was like edited on a show, because everybody had like an opinion on this player. Everybody was like we got to get rid of this guy. Clearly,
Oh,
and
it's
you
not
know
me.
we'll all talk about, oh damn, you know y'all rotted for voting out Becky. Well, I mean the alternative option was our Rob Juror here, Cody, which I feel like. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was
Deserved.
saw this, but I don't know if you watched BB Can. But like preseason, I just kept getting like Kevin Jacob vibes. Like that was like the upside that I kept seeing from Cody. Like just the way that he talked, it was like he gives me Kevin for BB Can 10 vibes. Like I don't know why. I don't understand it. And you know, we already harped on the strengths of your game, you know, when we were talking about the strategic player. And I feel like for someone who was consistently on the block, like you were very high for power rankings for somebody who was not frequently voting. Like you know, like if in spite of all the adversity that you had faced, you had a lot of very solid allies in your corner. Obviously, we talked about the Sinnoh starters. You had your Turtwig, you had your Piplup, you had your Starly, which was Mike. Yeah, Wesley, who put you very high in his power rankings, I believe, as well. You know, you had a very strong backing behind you. And I feel like with you gone, it was open reins, because like after you got sent home, there was no easy scapegoat that a lot of people were like, we need to get that person out. Once you were gone, people actually had to like oppose each other in opinions, like with who they felt the biggest story threats was. Like there was nobody that was more threatening to most of the end gamers than you, for obviously this great underdog story that you had for someone who was constantly on the block. So Rob Juror, here are your flowers, your whole bouquet.
You're welcome for the Cody.
Yeah,
Dude,
sorry.
it's hard to build relationships when all you do for 5 rounds is sit on the block and vote out Sergio.
Like the fact that there
For
was a
5
world where
rounds?
you were on the block all but 1 round during the pre-jury is not beyond me. If Morgan didn't change it up last second,
Listen,
that's
I
fucking-
literally was gonna nominate you week 1. That's crazy.
you casted 2 votes, and one of them was intentionally wrong. Like it was.
Yeah, it was
a weird
really,
turn.
it was a fun.
That was rotten of me.
Now we go on to the host favorites, which I'm going to start because I'm an indecisive bitch. So I said, you know what? I'm going to have 2 honorable mentions and then my host favorite, which I'm the only one who has 2 honorable mentions because of being an indecisive bitch. But I want to go with my honorable mentions first, which both of them are going to be on the same page. It's Liz and Juan. Like even though y'all did oppose each other later on, I just loved watching how you guys did play the game. Like Liz, like were you the most strategic at times? No, but like it was so entertaining to watch you like navigate this game. And then you were also just like a light in this game. Like you got hero of the season for a reason. And then Juan, it was like we've mentioned the power rankings a few times being like how you were very like high up there, and it was so interesting to watch you navigate that middle. And I like that's something that I always want to do, but then people target me anyway, so like I always like I just saw that and I was like, yes, this is something that I vibe with and I really liked. So that's why you guys are my honorable mentions. But my favorite person to watch this season, which they actually thought that they were going to be Jacob's host favorite because they mentioned it last night. But my host favorite is actually Chris. I thought it was so fun to watch Chris because this was also, if you had made it a little further, you could have been in contention for strategic because you were always thinking, you were always on like your feet this game. I don't think you took a break this game. Like you were very much like on everything. You were so determined to find an achievement. You were like, I am doing this. I am finding everything. And then it finally got to a point like that it actually worked out. It was just so fun to watch. And like I know we were talking about because like we were like, have we met question mark? Because like I know you're like an IRL of Alex, but like hopefully we're going to be able to meet when you come down here because I really want to. And it's just been so fun hosting you and then like getting to know you through this game. And I was like being indecisive, I was really leaning you just simply because of like everything that like you've done this game, and I was really proud of your game.
Honestly, I second that because the last time I knew peace in this game was the week the two of us were HOH. And honestly, I feel like that's the only week that went smooth because I was so like
going to say
determined
is that
to
if
be like,
Live Night was postponed 1 week, this season plays out very differently, I think.
We do not know that, but we will see. And that's also, I think the boys were kind of telling me that I may be a little biased because I was a very much a Sinnoh Starter fan. Like that was my favorite alliance personally. Like I was very much fighting for that. Just because I was rooting for them. So like when they were getting out, like as prod, I'm just like, this is really good moves and this is like actually like good strategy, but I hate it. So
and with that, I believe I am up next. So I didn't make this PowerPoint, and I'll let you take one guess who did make it. Jacob.
It's so accurate.
I think it was Zach.
Oh my gosh.
This is going on the YouTube.
So we'll move on to my host favorite, and Jacob, my honorable mentions on here, right?
Your honorable mentions on the slide, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna be honest. This was a very entertaining cast to watch, and I will say all of you gave me at least one moment. Many of you gave me more where I would just bust a gut because either a situation or just something you guys said was so funny and so entertaining. But I must pick one, and before I pick one, I pick two because my honorable mention for host favorite is actually going to be Becky for pretty much one reason and one reason only. In the round that we talked about before, where everyone was coming to Becky and basically saying, "Oh my God, we need your vote to get Cody out." I think it was Cody that round. Yeah, we need your vote to get Cody out. And this was Cody. And this is like the first time that a lot of people had like really talked.
Girl,
game.
I had her.
Well, a lot of these people like weren't really talking game with Becky before, and as it's all going down, in her prod chat said, probably my favorite thing that anyone said in their prod chat this entire round. It's a series of a couple messages, and it's basically just, I love how I am so important. These poor people shouldn't count on me.
Mother!
And that, I was like, that's making the TV edit right there. Oh my god, it was so funny.
Becky
No.
won.
Becky, love you. You were absolutely phenomenal. But for my host favorite, I gave it to someone that I was really excited to watch play. I wasn't even sure if they were going to play this season. But based on the past experience I've had playing with them before, I was really excited to see how they would fare in a Big Brother game. And when they were in the game, again, just busting a gut at so many things that happened. I can't even list all of them. It was so entertaining to watch, both entertainment wise and
so many guts. It's gross.
entertaining. Yeah, my guts are everywhere. But yes, for entertainment purposes and game purposes, my host favorite goes to Cody. Just, I love you, and this was a great game to watch you play, and I'm so glad I got to watch you do all the crazy shit that you did this game. It was so much fun, and I'm so glad that you said yes after I bothered you for a couple weeks to play this game.
Did you love me complaining for the first 5 weeks about how I was the perpetual pawn and how I just wanted to end everything?
You know what? You handled it with such grace that I was like, this is good. Really funny, actually. But yes, you are my host favorite.
And then we go on, with every we go on to my host favorite now.
Here we go.
It had to be once tonight. Come on, let's be for real.
The Yankee symbol. The
It had
Yankee
to
symbol.
be somewhere. Okay. All right. So I'm honestly the opposite of Heather. Heather was indecisive. Maybe I'm too decisive. Maybe that's my problem. I didn't want to. So there's no honorable mentions actually. Because I loved it. Because very much like Alex, I had very memorable moments for every single buddy. Live DRs, specific moments on the Zoom.
Jacob and mine guts are everywhere.
Guts are everywhere. But I have a little thing at the end that goes for a lot of people, but this person specifically, I said, it's not even 2024 when I say this on my prod chat. I tell Alex and Heather, if any of y'all pick Joanne as your host's favorite, I'll kill you. And look at them. They're not dead. They're alive. And they didn't fucking touch Joanne. So period. They're alive. Happy for them. There's 3 reasons why
I think
Joanne
she would have
as my
been a
host.
very fair honorable mention had you not called her so early on.
Period. All right. So because everyone else, I feel like it'd be easy for me to pick Benji or Morgan. I was like, nah, let me pick Joanne instead. So there's 3 reasons why. One, I've hosted these things for a while, and just seeing a completely new face was very interesting to watch. Like to see you navigate the game and the meta and to handle all of this, being completely new to this. Like everyone else, even the people who I didn't know, because I think relatively this is a very unfamiliar cast with one another. I think people may have known 1 to 2 people max on the cast, but I had other references. Maybe I've played with them before. Maybe I've spectated the game very closely, or maybe I'm friends with somebody who hosted them before. Joanne, nothing at all. No idea how she was going to play the game, and I think she played very well, especially for this being her first time, which leads into reason number 2. I know we didn't highlight her during strategic player, but I was very much a big proponent for her strategy. There's times where I would see someone do something and I ask, would I do this in this situation? Like if someone told me I'm thinking of doing this, would I shut it down? And I felt most like I agreed with Joanne's decisions the most. Like I feel like was someone who had a very good grasp on the game, and I think was aligned with the correct people at the correct times. And I felt like was just very authentic and true to herself, which leads into the most important reason, which actually leads into something just why this season meant so much to me. Because I've been in this community for a while. This is the first game where I feel like I rooted for y'all as people first and then players second. Like obviously seeing the game transpire the way that it does is very huge and very entertaining for me. But I would catch myself on these Zooms where everyone's playing the Jackbox, and I would catch these intimate conversations with people, you know, them just having fun or talking about these very personal and intimate things, which obviously they're talking to each other, they're not talking to me. But randomly during the day, I'm just like, damn, you know, I hope they get that promotion. I hope that they're all right. I hope that they're okay. I may not act on it immediately, but I felt like I was rooting for people, not just because I felt they played a great game, because a lot of y'all were very active and were very hardcore gamers, but more so like I want them to win because I feel like it would just mean a lot to them. You know, I want them to celebrate their win. I want to see them happy. I think they deserve good things. And, you know, I genuinely had lots of meaningful moments. Like I had the highlights of being professional and like being like the spy or like the fly on the wall of everyone's conversations, but the fun of playing, of getting to know y'all as individuals. So I said, above all else, if not just for game reasons, I just want to give it to someone who I think is just a dope ass person, someone I just had a lot of respect for on a personal level. And I am thankful for not only choosing us as their first game experience, but thankful for just playing for me, getting the honor to meet them. So Joanne, I proudly proclaim myself as the president of her fan club, and for all of the worldwide tours that she attends, all the Broadway shows that she's the star for, I will be rooting for her every step of the way. So Joanne, I was pulling for you at the end. Unfortunately, couldn't get it done, but me and Prod are all proud of you. So thank you for not killing Alex and Heather, for putting you through this.
Thank
And
you.
the last award that there is going to be the player of the season. Other than the like rapid fire awards, because we do have an individual award for everybody. It's like something silly, sometimes something to do. But the player of the season, we've talked about them a lot, and I feel like they had a very high chance of winning the game. Had certain things gone different way, or certain things like certain comps were won, or certain comps were thrown. If that was the case, there could have been a way that this person was going to go to the end, and I feel like they played masterfully. Like they were also in contention for strategic player of the season. They were in contention for social player. They were in contention for honestly villain as well, because they did have some like villainous attitudes throughout. And just to preface, we do not give this award to the final two just because you guys have already proved that you guys played the season. And Benji and Morgan, we love you. You guys played the season like so well, and like we applaud you for that. You were not in contention for this because of simply making it to final two, because you guys proved already to us that you guys played the season. So we are actually giving player of the season to Juan. You played this game so masterfully, and it was so fun watching you play. And one thing, like you said early on, that kind of like solidified your duo with Joanne, you were like, if I'm going to be your lifeboat in your first game, like this was in your prod chat, so I don't know if you said this to Joanne directly, but you were like, if I'm going to be your lifeboat in this game, let me be that lifeboat for you. And then you had like, yes, Joanne seemed to be like your biggest duo, but you made duos with like so many other people, and you made the connections with so many other people. It was so great to watch. I think the only times I saw you not on the power rankings was when you were actually in a position of power, because it did leak your actual position in the game and it dropped you down. So like those are the only times that you'll probably see on the power rankings you go down, is when you won a competition. Which is why I did mention that I did feel like you could have gone further had like either certain competitions not been won, or like certain things happened like differently in the game. But you just played so well, and I feel like you could have definitely gone to the end this season and won the season.
I'm gonna cry. Thank y'all.
I also want to, sorry, I cut you off, but I really want to preface this. Like, I also want to say, like, going into like the preseason, it was between you and Benji for my personal winner pick. I thought, looking at the whole cast, I was like, I think they both have the makings, like in this cast specifically, to make it very far, in which you demonstrated that, you know, being able to foster all those integral relationships with people and being so well entrenched in things. Like, I think Chris and Cody mentioned at some point, like, we have to take Juan out eventually. Like, how do we do it is the problem. Not the fact that it needs to happen, but rather like, how is that going to be accomplished? Because so many people trusted you at the beginning. That was the one constant. Like, if people had you high in their estimates of like who they want to go far with in the game. So that's my little contribution to this award. So.
This is why I didn't want to win that trust HOH. I did not want to win that. As soon as it was like Logan's out, I was like, damn, I just won this shit. And I win them in every org that I played. If it's a trust ranking, I win, and I'm so pissed. And I think at the beginning of the season, y'all asked me like, what's your downfall in the games? I was like, because I have so many connections, I show my cards and I get taken out because I can't hide behind anything if I win. And that's what brought me down again.
Full discretion.
That's why I
with
feel like you should have kept Chris, because you could have hid behind that and blamed it on
well,
Benji Morgan.
we've
but that's
talked
my
about
opinion.
worst movie.
Moving on.
Full discretion, we will say that we purposely put the Listmaster competition the round after the achievements came out, because for the twist where like HOHs could only nominate within their groups, we wanted an HOH that people couldn't throw. And it worked just as we thought it would.
Now, who would be the idiot to unlock that achievement? Juan, do you know?
I couldn't tell you.
Somebody set me up.
But
honestly, I think some idiot unlocked that achievement. I think that's what happened. That's
Someone
good.
like took a picture of my Y picture. Like, it's so crazy.
I don't know. It's crazy.
And then goes around to the entire house and says, "Guys, I unlocked this achievement." Couldn't be you.
Best thing about this is Becky sent a screenshot of this trying to claim it at the beginning of the season, but like the achievements wasn't active at the point, so
Becky sent it prior to the achievements.
Wait, and then she didn't do it for like another 3 days?
Becky
She did it right away as soon as I posted that picture, because I posted that picture around before it happened. So if anyone claimed it, it wouldn't be claimed because it's not active.
Yeah.
And so she, I think literally a few minutes after that, sent a picture circling the Y, and we're just like, oh no. But we're like, okay, so she might get it once like it actually happens, and then she didn't try after that.
So sad.
And for this
I had to step away for a minute. What did I miss?
Juan is our player of the season.
Juan killed.
All right, how do we segue into Y again?
Well, as you see,
Becky
Juan
Mother.
ate like Jeffrey Dahmer and left no crumbs this season.
No, it's something about Juan. Juan was the one that unlocked the achievement that had the HOHs put up only players within their week. And Becky found the Y, but before the achievements came out. So this whole thing. This
Constellation achievement.
Yes, this
Do we have
ceremony has.
that we're doing it?
This ceremony has gone on long enough.
Fine.
Okay, so
another thing I want to do, and Alex wants to fucking do.
Just because I want to breeze through it, because the ceremony's gone long enough. We have our consolation achievements. Everyone's getting an award. We're just going to start in eviction order. Adrian gets the Best Send Off to Big Brother Games award. We're very happy. We're very happy we could be your last one. Philly gets the twofer Best Cast Photo and Best Action Shot award, and I don't think anyone's gonna argue with that one. Sergio gets the Trendsetter Award for being the first one to nominate Cody, a trend that everyone ended up following later.
Damn.
I did not. I had 3 of those. I did not.
Did not what?
Nominate Cody.
Well, yeah, you were my little HM slave.
You were the hipster.
I sure was, and I'd do it again.
Come on, Starly.
Not the zigzag.
That's why I said he wants the Bidoof. Then if he
after Sergio was Logan. Logan gets the Prophet Award for calling a holy alliance into existence.
Please.
Becky gets the Least Bothered Award for just not really bothering about that certain situation. Eric gets the Most Clutch Baseball Star Award, and you might be wondering what that means. Well, much like a clutch baseball star, Eric got 2 strikes but did not get out, and we just give the flowers to that.
Real.
Yes.
Wesley gets the Biggest Fan of Season 2 award because
he just randomly watched the cast assessment one night. I was like, oh, okay.
Among other parts from Season 2. It was quite funny. Chris gets the Holliest and Jolliest Player award. Once Christmas ended, Yeah, once Christmas
Let's
ended, the
go.
tree was gone. It just
Yes, let's go.
Tree.
it just wasn't the same.
But the tree
Cody,
was gone, so was he.
Cody, you get the always popular but never really desired Block Star Award.
Yes.
I was 1 round away, you fucks.
from tying the record for most nominations. Well,
Tying the record well before the record would have been set in the actual season.
Jacob, you might need to help me out with this one because I forget what this is about. Juan gets the longest paragraphs award.
Because just randomly after any call, Juan would send like 10 different paragraphs about just like how the conversation went. Like just one about how the conversation was, one about how they felt, one about how like they talked about their day or some shit. Like it's just it's a lot of paragraphs, man. I appreciate it because I also am a long paragraph sender, but
yeah.
And we're gonna do the next one since I mentioned it a little bit before.
Yes, feel free.
So Liz, we gave you the Voice of Reason award because there's so many times that in at least Sinnoh starters, well, first of all, you were the voice of reason everywhere. You would be like, this needs to happen. And then everyone else would be like, no, I don't think so. And then all of Prod is like, no, Liz is right. Like, this is the actual thing that should be happening. But everybody else has like different things. But there's so many times in the Sinnoh starters chat where Chris and Cody will be like trying to figure out what friend request was. And I think Liz literally went, hey, what if it means you take a photo with an IRL person? And I think it still took about 5 days after Liz saying that for them to actually figure out what to do. They were asking questions that had nothing to do with that. Liz just threw that out there. And it's just like, Liz was right on so many things and telling the truth so many times, but people never believed what she was saying or would think it was other things. So I just wanted to say that. Like,
of course.
It was funny.
Wait, how was friend request unlocked?
I just kept saying,
wouldn't it be wild? I took a video with me and my sister.
You just needed to take a video, or was it a video? I forget what it was.
Introducing us to an IRL friend of yours.
Yeah, and then they didn't need to say, "Can they get the achievement?" It was literally just, "This is my friend," and that was it.
Thank y'all for following me.
I was trying to get my prod guest to ask to give me the achievements,
which was close, but not quite it. After Liz, we go on to, speaking of achievements, we go on to Joanne, who gets the full-time bartender award for just spending many days trying to get an achievement that did not exist. To the point where we literally had to ask ourselves, did we tell her this was a real thing by accident? Quite funny. Mike, you get the VLDR Machine Award for just the sheer amount of... Honestly, yeah. You know what? You get the Sound Effects Award, too.
Hey, guys, look, Mike won something.
Yeah. Harley...
Maybe I should have nominated you.
Ooh. Harley, you get...
By the time I got back in power, you were gone, so...
Harley gets the alleged funniest person on the cast award, because I remember at one ceremony, Harley was just like, if I do not get funniest player on the cast, I'm gonna start a riot, and here you are now.
Deserved.
Right.
Deserved.
I'll give this next. Can I give these next two?
Yes.
All right. For our final two, Benji was the biggest blindside to Prod award because I was not in the breakout room during live night, so I thought you were going home 4-3. I didn't think you were staying 4-3. I sat there as Harley said. Sorry, Wesley. I lost my shit. I have never been more shocked by just something before. So.
I was in the room when I was also shocked.
I was like, it was fun. It was cute. And a winner of the season, Morgan gets despite winning, gets the ultimate bridesmaid award because she just kept finishing second in comps. Like she asked if like she set the record for it, which I think yes. Like now, like I think like now, like at the point, no, you didn't, but you were close to it. And at this point, you've either tied or beaten the record for how many times you finished in second. And for someone who intended to throw all these comps, you nearly won a lot of them. So yeah.
Literally, it was all on accident. Like I genuinely coming into this, I was like, I'm not good at competitions. And then I just kept almost winning them. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm not trying. I don't want to win. Like
Morgan, you want to know what's funny? So when I was timing the Statue of Liberty comp, I was like watching the stream and like had my timer on my phone. And when you're like, it hurts, and just put your arm down, I was like, what the fuck?
Juan called
Morgan
that
is
out to
throwing
me.
all this shit.
Juan called that out to me so fast.
I know she threw that because you were dramatic with it. That's really what it was. You were just like, oh,
You were
he
so
was like,
solid, and you're just like, I
do
can't.
that
I'm like,
shit.
what? And then how like when it came down to me and you in a stab, and I won and put you up, you're like, and I just wanted you to win because I took Benji out. I don't care. Like, why would you?
Yeah, literally, I was like, I don't care if I win. I don't really want to win. Like, Juan wants to win. I guess Juan can win. That's fine.
I was like, don't make me feel bad for putting you up because you took Benji out. I don't.
No, literally, I was trying to emotionally manipulate you so hard. I was like, I literally gave it to you.
I was like, thanks.
And with that, that is our final consolation achievement, and our final award, and our final thing for this season. This season has officially come to a wrap, and once again, thank you all so much for playing. We hope you had as much fun playing as we had watching you guys play. And with that, Hypnotic Prod signing off. See you for season 4. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know.
Bring back Becky.
Bring back
moon.
second
Season
chances,
4.
Becky.
Listen,
Becky.
everyone who voted out Becky that round was rotted, and you know it.
I will end the recording here, but thank you so much. And for the final time, good night, house guests.